Yeah, good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Had some big Boeing news out overnight, in the early London session, with China pausing deliveries on Boeing deliveries. That has hit sentiment this morning. Good morning to you. Folks, without further ado, let's get stuck into the session. Right, let's get going. So, the fundamental bias is the risk tone is really mixed. If you look at the VIX, we can see it's pushing towards the lows of the day. Euro stocks, DAX, China, FTSE 100 up. US equity futures are just pressured. There's a bit of an acceleration in some of the tariff headlines, particularly market focusing on the news that China's going to halt some Boeing deliveries. Now, they said on a case-by-case basis, they're going to let some Boeing planes in that have already been paid for, and they'll be allowed on a case-to-case basis, but otherwise that's going to be a further drain on the general sentiment out there. If we take a look at Airbus shares, they've been rallying, which is what you'd expect. There's two real big aircraft manufacturers in the world. Let me just open up a tab here that I can use. Airbus for Europe and Boeing for the US, they're the two big companies out there, and that news has just really benefited Airbus, and you can see Airbus shares have boosted higher on that news. Let me just check I've got the right Airbus SE. That's the right one. A little bit of a pullback. The news sort of came early this morning. Seen a little bit of a pullback on that, but yeah, it is a monopoly. Then all of a sudden Airbus will stand to potentially gain. So that's just worth looking at and considering. The problem with these tariffs is they're on 1 minute, then they're off the next, and this could all quickly unwind as soon as there's some kind of from the negotiations that are going on. So we've got to keep it with a pinch of salt. Looking around markets more generally, you can see, remember the importance of the US bond market. We don't want to see the yields going higher, sign of distress at the moment. Yields going lower, sign of calm. Okay, so you want to see these yields continuing to move lower because it means that investors are happy to buy US debt again. With all these tariff headlines going on and what President Trump is doing, that's been the big shake-up in markets. And, you know, there is a definite retreat of the US from the global stage, and we're starting to see that unwind. Gold remains bid, copper down a little bit. WTI, Brent crude, pressured expectations. It's going to be less oil demand, less growth, less global trade, all sort of weighing on sentiment. Looking at the S&P 500 generally, from a sort of a big picture perspective, look, we just sort of pulled up into this overhead resistance area, a little bit of a slowdown. So ideally you want to see this push higher and start reaching up to this sort of 5,700 region if we've got further gains to come. At the moment, we're in a sort of quite vulnerable place for potential selling. That was the sort of sell-off in the morning, and you can see that we're pulling back to an obvious area to look for shorts there. We'll look at that in more detail in a minute. Looking at the VIX at the moment, pushing lower, so that should continue to support upside in the S&P 500. Just on general belief that tariffs are not as bad as markets were originally expecting. That there's been that 90-day pause, so we're in this sort of general relief. But the broad sentiment out there is that markets are very sensitive to being sold off right now. I want to just show you this on the hourly chart in terms of where we're moving to. We're moving to a very clear area. Now the delta is higher, and we have pushed above the value area low for the week, and we are sat in this sort of value area low from a previous week. So if we just narrow that down a little bit, what you can see is that we're in a crucial kind of support area for yesterday and for today. So just got to be very careful of potentially shorting this. And if we can get above here and start trapping those sellers here, right? And if we can get above there, trapping those sellers, that would be excellent, right? And there will be good areas for potentially going long on. Let's get that, right? Should we get these sellers here trapped and these sellers there trapped? Looking at the inventory, it is positive, right? Even though we've had this negative news, Europe is positive, the VIX is down, but we are at this sort of daily VWAP area on the daily chart, looking at that area, strong resistance. So we've got to keep that in mind as well as we go through the session. This is the area where we saw these buyers here all getting trapped, right, from earlier this morning. And that's a key area here. If we start to see obvious trapped buyers up there, remember this area here is a return to the weekly point of control that we just hit. Okay, so that's not a bad area for potential sellers to join in, and we're just going to be conscious of that as we head into the open. Looking at the 5-minute chart, you can see here we're just moving that, and looking at the 1-minute chart, do we see, look, there is some sellers trapping those buyers there, right? The inventory is positive, which is the difficult thing. So it's a bit mixed. The inventory is still pushing up, so we may see a further move up here. Then in which case it wouldn't be unreasonable with these sellers trapping those sellers to look for maybe a deeper retracement from that 5,450. So that's what we're looking at as we head into the open. But we're going to just take a look at the trend, which has been trending lower, but definitely getting rejection of those lower prices. And the inventory is positive. And we've got the weekly point of control here on that 5,438 with this support here and support there. So pushing up above that area does make it attractive for longs in the very short term. Okay, and then just be careful of potential sellers of the first standard deviation. So it'll be interesting to see what we get here. We've got 5-minute here, see if we've got any trapped sellers here at the 5-minute. But we've got this area here where we've got all these sellers who've been trapped at the start. So looking for two-way action really today. Slight bias for buying, but conscious if we get up here higher, then we might see some selling off the VWAP as well. So I want to stay kind of like nimble, willing to go both ways, and noticing that from the open, Globex open, Delta has been positive, but recognizing that we're in a key area where it wouldn't be unreasonable to start seeing sellers build up. Obviously, we'll just be looking for something clear and direction-wise. Pre-open, we're having buyers trap some of those late session sellers. You feel there's been profit taking down there, and now we're heading up into the US session where we're getting a fresh perspective on what's going on. Buyers coming in, a little bit of impetus, and we've got sellers here potentially getting trapped, and we've got the sellers down here potentially getting trapped. So that'll be an important area and could open up a little upside bias in the near term. And remember that point of control here that we're trying to push above, and so it wouldn't be unreasonable to see if we can get up there and maybe move up to that standard deviation. But a few minutes here, buyers on volume trying to trap these sellers and seeing if we can trap these sellers here. And if we get those sellers trapped there, I wouldn't be adverse to a little long. Stops just underneath the 5,436. See if we can potentially move up. We'll see. Projections for the day, it's either going to be up to that 5,460, down, and then ultimately having another test that 5,465 and trying to break out to the upside, or it's going to be down, hitting that point of control, rejecting that point of control, and then moving down here through this value area and start making our way back down to the point of control at the 5,400 and breaking down through that weekly value area high from last week. For now, we're in key support. That's what I'm noticing. And we're trying to just break out of these sellers from the pre-European session and push up higher. In terms of the calendar, pretty light really. Had the CPI data, a little bit weaker than markets are expecting, just puts a little bit of pressure on CAD, but nothing of note. Got Barkin speaking at 4:35, and I think, have we got Powell later? We've got White House press briefing at 6, executive orders from Trump at 7:30, Lagarde at 5. And earnings wise, we've had Citi and fairly decent earnings out from Citi, Johnson & Bank of America, and they're the main ones that we've got today. Netflix can be a big one at the close on Thursday, and TSMC ones to watch before the open. Apart from that, it's pretty light for now. Okay, coming up to that 5-minute close. Interesting. We're getting here potentially. Okay, there we go. So we haven't managed to break above those sellers, right, have not quite got trapped. Nearly, but not quite. So I'll just keep looking at this. So I'm looking at this area here just to see if we get 15 minutes to the open. So I'm happy to. I've been trading this morning, trying to make up for yesterday's loss. Good morning, Konstantinos. So I'm up sort of $400 or $500 across the account. So $100 in this account and $200 in one account, and the rest 100. So today is clawback Tuesday, right? Turnaround Tuesday. Hey, Konstantinos, mate. Interesting area on the 1 hour, pushing above the weekly point of control, trying to hold above it. Value area low on the right, value area low on the left, trying to push above this. Key areas to look at is the 5450 and the 5462. On the 15-minute chart, we're just keeping an eye, see if we can start pushing above these sellers getting trapped here. And then maybe consider potential shorts again at the 5449 with those sellers having trapped all those buyers up there. So, that's what we're looking for. I just took a quick little long with those sellers getting trapped there. See if we can get a little boost up. Yeah, I think that's right. It's a two-way kind of day. I'll take a look at it in a minute now, Jim. Sounds like it. All right, I'm just going to pull this. Give it a second, and let's look at that euro dollar before the open. It's starting to weaken anyway. Don't think we can get a pre-open breakout and seeing that. Let's see, I'll come back to that in a minute. Right, euro dollar. Before I try and go use this as it's fully formed, right. Let's have a look. The apex is too close, you're absolutely right. I haven't done one yet, but I can definitely do one, Konstantinos. I know we're going to be doing a promotion shortly. So what I'll do is I'll make sure you're in it. Could you send me an email and I'll make sure it gets sent to you? Yeah, that's fully formed. That is useless, and it tends just to faff around there. However, let's see, is there another way of looking at it? Yeah, it's a weird structure, that one. I was seeing if it could be a flag. Hey, Kathleen, good to see you. Konstantinos, at the end of this month, I'm going to do a promotion for GCFX, so I'll let you in on it, okay? And give you the details. We'll do it, Konstantinos, for sure. If someone put a gun to my head, shorting makes sense. If you look at the Dixie as well, if you look at this on the monthly, if you look where we're at, we're just kind of, I think we're at 100 exponential moving average. We're just bouncing off that 100 exponential moving average. So a bit technical. So I understand that, right? And I would, just gonna make sure I've got the squawk on, folks. It's a bit of movement. Oh, hang on. Sorry, folks, squawk not on. I just refreshed the page. There we go. Okay. Yeah, short would make sense to me. And there's those longs finally coming.
More from the Canadian Finance Ministry. Canada announces performance-based remission framework for automakers designed to incentivize continued production and investment in Canada.
Sellers trapping buyers. We're into that trapped area, but the inventory, let's just check the inventory from the 1 hour. Inventory is positive, so we're still pushing up higher. And I did see there's a bit of seasonal bias for the Dixie as well. I know we're sort of quite early in April, and there is this little flush lower, but the start of May, I'm sort of just looking at that, potentially for a retracement. Right, okay, so carrying on our way up higher, and we're here at the open now. This was the area where we had sellers trapped. Now, start of the session, Globex open is higher. We're now pushing into an area where those sellers trapped these buyers. Great area for potential shorting now. So looking for areas of exhaustion, looking for some kind of like retracement area, looking for these buyers sort of, give in and capitulate up at this level here. So that's it. We're into this area here.
Further from the Canadian Finance Ministry, says the remission granted to Canada automakers is contingent on the companies continuing to produce vehicles in Canada and on completing planned investment.
So these sellers trapped, most of these buyers are up here in this region. So there and up here. So what I'm looking for now is in this region, looking for evidence of sellers coming in. Right, just a little kind of speculative short there. Nice, Najam, very nice. Great work, Najam. Right, now looking at this is the area where I'm sort of looking for a short, okay? Just based on this earlier structure. All right, let's see. Got a couple of positions in, just see if I can get this to move lower from here. I'm looking for some evidence here. At the moment, buyers firmly in control, pushed above the point of control, sellers trapped there on the 1. Now we're going back down, see if I can trap these buyers is what I want. 1 position out and 2 positions out. Right. So I've just taken those out, just off the expectation that this is going to be an area for a turnaround. So just taking a couple of shorts off there. All right. Now let's look back. Let's see what's next. Yeah. Well done, Najam. A fantastic trade. For those of you who just want to know what Najam did there, it's very clever trading. You got this little flag, pull back there, breakout on volume to the upside just before the open, went long, and Najam took that lovely run higher and got out for a profit. He's joking, he should have held, but great trade. Right. Well done. And just goes to show, 2 can make a market, because I went the other way, shorting up at this value area high in this area. I'm looking for shorts, and then just taking profit as it ran down into this area here.
Just making you aware, I've seen remarks from NATO Secretary General Rutte says NATO support is unwavering. It will continue to help Ukraine so it can defend today and deter future aggression.
So sellers trying to come back in here, that would be an opportunity if I get those buyers trapped. Let's see. Right, I'm entering that short again. Let's see if they get trapped. Yeah, they do, just taking another short. Let's see if that works. I'll be out if it goes back above those 1 minute sellers. And see if they remain trapped or they. Okay, so we get a little pullback here. I can get out on this. I'm going for a couple of longs to see if I can push up higher now. With those buyers trapping those sellers. Could see a little flush higher now. 1 position out, 2nd position out. Just hitting that 2nd standard deviation. That's just going back the other way. So today, a negative day. Another maximum loss that I'm allowed, minus 2,400. So that's the 2nd consecutive day of the maximum loss allowed. So pretty rough start to the week. Looking at the trades that I took, it was just a question of getting too excited and trying to make up for yesterday's loss, really. Session started well, and it was around 3 o'clock that it went wrong. So as we just pushing above those highs, taking some decent opportunities, taking 2-way opportunities, selling as we move back up to this area when we had these sellers trapping all those buyers moving up, and selling down, absolutely fine. And then just going a little bit wrong in this big range, that's where it went wrong. And then selling heavily, then trying to go for longs, and those 5-minute buyers weren't able to trap those sellers, but still holding on. So that's really what went wrong. And then holding to see if I could keep above. It's too strong a position, so triggered my automatic closing of my positions. So that's limited my loss for the day, and we'll come back tomorrow for another day. Folks, I hope you have a very good evening, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I'm going to dust myself off and start again tomorrow. Take care now, folks. Bye for now.